Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel. So for today's video I am going to talk about my tips and how I passed my praxis test. So if this helps you somewhat, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I'm going to be doing more kind of tips and tricks as I go along my master's program for teaching. So hopefully this will help you. So yeah. So for my program, I don't know if this is the same for every Masters of Teaching program, but for mine, before we were admitted, we had to take the praxis for the subject that we wanted to teach, and we had to pass it. Each state has its own passing scores, like what qualifies as passing, so your school will probably provide that information for you. I know mine did. I had to do some digging to find it, but they did. I ended up taking 2 of the praxis tests just because when I went in for my initial interview for the program, they recommended that as well. Okay, rewind. So I initially went in wanting to teach government because, as you may or may not know if you've been around this channel for a while, I graduated with my Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science because I originally wanted to go to law school, blah blah blah. That's a long story. I may do another video on that. We'll see. But yeah, so I wanted to do something with my political science bachelor's, and I do love learning about the laws and the legal field and the Constitution and all of that. That's the only part about being a lawyer that excited me. So I thought government would be perfect to teach. And, you know, I took the praxis. I did really well on it. I was like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be. And then I went in for an interview, and they were like, that's really great that you want to do that, but there's not a lot of teaching jobs in government. Thanks for crushing my hopes and dreams. But they were like, have you ever thought about taking the history praxis, because that kind of coincides with government? And I was like, oh, that's perfect. I originally wanted to be a history teacher before I got on this long journey of wanting to be a lawyer, so I'll do that. So I took the history praxis, passed it, so I'm qualified to teach 2 subjects now. So, yeah. Basically, I actually studied like a month in advance for each of the subjects, and thankfully I only had to take the test once for each of them. So, yeah. I was really relieved about that because I'm the worst test taker ever. So, basically, what I did, well, for one thing, as far as like the government, a lot of it I had actually remembered from my classes, so pay attention in your subject. It'll help, trust me. But I bought a book, and I'll include a picture here because I trashed mine once as I passed the test because I was like, I'm not going to need this again. So yeah, I read that book, and yes, there are quite a few typos in it, and I'm going to explain my dislikes of the book, but it had all of the information that I needed. It was super quick, to the point. It was written in words that you can understand, and it was really fast learning. So I basically read through the book and highlighted the most important parts of each section that I thought would benefit me for the test. So that was one thing I did. Another thing, when you actually sign up on the Praxis website, they give you an option of purchasing practice tests. And so I did that too, and I took the practice test. And that actually helped somewhat because it kind of showed what kind of questions were more likely to be on the test. So I did that. I also researched each of the tests to figure out what kinds of questions they would ask and what subject matter, so that I could really focus on what parts I needed to spend the most time on. So, yeah. And then, I'm sure I'll find them, but there's also these quick little reference guides that had, like, quick facts about each subject, so I purchased those. You can find them at most bookstores. If I can find an example, I'll link it down below. But I read those the day of, like right before I went into the test, so that way I could still review, but it wasn't like heavy hitting learning. It was kind of reinforcing what I've learned. And then I also once I read through the material, if there was something I was like, oh yeah, I really remember that, then I knew I didn't really need to focus on that. But if there was something else I needed to really focus on, then I also turned to YouTube. And I actually watched a lot of the videos. I'll try to either put them in the down bar or insert them somehow. I don't know how YouTube is doing this stuff now. But I went to the Crash Course channel, which is owned and operated by John and Hank Green. And they did a government section. It wasn't them, it was another guy, and he was hilarious. I loved him. And then U.S. history and world history, and John Green did both of those. Those videos were so informative and really helped back up what I read. So what I did was I would read the subject in the book, and then I'd go and watch the video on it, and that just really helped reinforce everything. So that way you can kind of see what works well for you. That obviously worked well for me because, like I said, I passed both of the tests. I was a nervous wreck for both of the tests, but yeah, that really helped. I'm going to talk a little bit too about test day because I didn't know what to expect. I'm just going to tell you how my school did it. It might be different, but it was in our library. I had gone there to actually take my exit exam for political science, which for some reason, like, I took it and I guess I passed it because I was able to graduate, but it's still under like my course list, and it's like, here it is. Like, I can't take it, but it's like a reminder. I'm like, that was almost 2 years ago. Bye. So I thought that I was just going to sit at a computer there. Like, we have in the library, we have a little testing center that's like a computer lab basically. It's super quiet. I mean, a library is quiet anyway, but it's quieter than normal. And you're not allowed to bring anything to the desk with you. So that's how I thought it was going to be. Oh no. I think that the security for a Praxis exam is better / worse, depending on how you look at it, than going through an airport. Yeah. So I walked in. There's like a form that you had to fill out, and then you had to sit in the lobby. They had to call you back one by one to actually go initiate the test. You couldn't have anything on your person. If you did, my school actually had lockers on the outside, which I didn't know, so I had to get a key and put all my stuff in a locker outside. And then they said even with your cell phone, even if it's outside, like not with you, if they hear it vibrate or ding or anything, your scores are canceled. So, had to turn your phone off. Yeah, so I was like, okay, this is intense. So then, you get inside the place, and you have to sign in. They take your picture, so they know that it's you. And then every time you leave and exit, you have to sign in and out. And then, woman's like, okay, stand up, I need a metal detect you. And I was like, say what now? Yeah, they have a handheld metal detector that they go up and down your body to see if you have any metal on you. Second time I took my test, I had bobby pins in my hair and it went off. So I was like, it's just bobby pins. And she was like, okay. So they do that, and then the prompter or whoever actually has to go in the room, set your computer ready, you stand in the other room, and then they tell you to come in, and they sit down. And they've got like full camera security everywhere. Like, they have cameras on every single station, the room overall, everything, and that person just has to sit there and watch. And it is so quiet. The room that I was in didn't have any windows or anything. It was super cold in there. It was uncomfortable. But yeah, you had to go in, you had to have your ID. That's the only thing that you could bring in the room with you, and it had to sit face up on the desk. That's what you used to enter and exit the room, so they could verify that it was you taking the test. And it was insane. I did not think that it was going to be that much stress to take a test. But be prepared. The second time, like the first time I went, I brought like my purse and everything, so I'm like, I can just put it in the cubby, it's going to be fine. They're like, no, you're not supposed to have anything with you. And I was like, oh, well, I kind of need my stuff. So the second time I went, I just took my phone, because my parents actually took me, because at the time I didn't have a parking pass, and yeah. So I just took my phone and I was going to say, look, I need my phone. I need to let my parents know when this is over. And they were fine. They're just like, just put it in a locker. We can't hear it. I don't know. So my word of advice, bring just the bare essentials like your wallet, keys, phone. That's it. If you don't need your phone, don't bring it with you. But my mom is like wants to know where I am at all times. Not that she's like doesn't trust me, but it's she doesn't trust other people. She's really overprotective of me. So yeah, I need to carry my phone. But that's what I would recommend for that. It's not like the LSAT where you can have like the clear plastic bag that has all the stuff in it. Oh no, no. I thought the LSAT was bad about stuff. No, the Praxis is worse. And you would think it would be the other way because the LSAT you're getting ready for the legal field. But anyway, all of this rambling is to maybe give you a better understanding of the Praxis and how to study for it. If you have any questions for me, leave them down below. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm still trying to get my teaching license. That's why I'm in this program. So I'm not a test-taking expert at all, but if you just want like my opinions or like my experience, I thought that this might help some. Maybe give you some guidance as to how to start studying because I didn't really know how to do that. I'm also going to be doing a video on my interview, like what the process was, and to get ready in case, like I said, I'm not an expert on like the Praxis or other places. I just know how my school runs things, and we had to do like an initial teacher interview so they could kind of see what kind of teacher we want to be. So I'll probably do a video on that too. I'm also going to be having semi-weekly vlogs depending on how interesting things are. And yeah, I hope that you will follow me along on my journey to graduate and become a teacher. I'm excited. I'm finally doing what I was meant to do, and I know it deep down in my heart. Like, this is what I was meant to do, and I'm so excited for the future. And I can't wait to share my experience with you all. And yeah, stick around. I probably will do that video on my teaching journey just because I've had to tell it so many times now. I may as well put it out there for the internet. Why not? So yeah, without further ado, I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.
All that's left is a window to my soul. Come and get it.